there, 5-6. When it comes to talking with other people about our faith, many of us shrink back in fear. But as we read through the Bible, we learn about people who were unsure, yet stepped out in faith and shared the story of God with others. Their experiences can inspire us to move beyond our fears and tell people what we believe and why we are followers of Jesus. Our scripture reading for today comes from the book of Acts, chapter 4, verses 1 through 21. Now let's see what truths we can uncover today in this passage and other verses from the Bible. It brings me to my first point. You have something to share. Peter and John were continually sharing the truth about Jesus because they had experienced life with him and had witnessed the resurrection of the Messiah. These men were not properly trained in the scriptures and lacked the perceived educational qualifications for ministry, but they possessed the greatest tool for sharing their faith, a personal encounter with Jesus Christ. You may look at Peter and John and say that they had to share their faith because they physically walked with Jesus. But what about us? Do we have the same mandate to share our faith? What will happen if we don't share our faith? Let's see what the Apostle Paul says about this. As we remember from our study in Matthew, Jesus calls each of his followers to be salt and light in the world. And this takes boldness, faith, the power of God's Spirit, and an ability to dialogue tactfully. We live in a culture filled with many different beliefs and worldviews that despite the claims of Christianity. And that's why we're spending these lessons talking about apologetics. It's all about explaining and defending your faith. That brings me to my next point. You can be prepared to share. If you have ever gone on a long hike, you have experienced the need to prepare well. Preparation can be the difference between enduring an extensive hike on the backwoods trail and falling victim to malnutrition or extreme elements. So when we share our faith, the Bible teaches us that preparation is just as important. Preparing your heart to be righteous and gentle is important. Preparing your mind to be sharp so you can clearly communicate what we believe is essential. And knowing Scripture is vital. And so is understanding the culture that surrounds you. The more you're prepared, the more confident you can be as you talk with people about your faith. That brings me to my next point. Your story is powerful. So as a follower of Jesus, your greatest tool in sharing your faith has nothing to do with what you have memorized or studied. The best way to show that God exists and is in the business of changing lives isn't to regurgitate facts or use skillful ways to discredit other people's views. The greatest tool in sharing your faith is something you have without ever having to learn it. It's your story, or what some people call a testimony. Now, in addition to writing one of the opening books of the New Testament, the Apostle John wrote 3 letters to Jesus' followers. And in the intro of the first letter, he wrote about the ways in which he and the disciples encountered Jesus. John did this because many people were spreading rumors about Jesus. Some even said Jesus never really existed. And some said he was a spirit and not a man. And some said he was a regular man on whom God's Spirit rested. John used the power of his testimony to affirm what he knew to be true about Jesus. Your story is unique to you, and only you can claim the ways in which you have encountered Jesus. If someone has experienced a changed life because of Jesus Christ, no amount of archaeological evidence, New Age philosophy, or Buddhist meditation can refute it. You know what happened to you and how Jesus changed your life. This testimony is your chief tool in communicating the gospel to those who oppose it or who are interested in it. Our confidence comes from what we know God has done in the past. And as we recall what God has done over and over, our faith is formed. As I said before, your personal story is essential in sharing your faith because stories are highly relational and they are easy to remember and they keep people's attention. And they don't sound preachy. Even if you don't have a dramatic testimony or a past filled with big mistakes, your story is powerful. That's all I got for today, 5-6. See you again soon.